Mercury will be in retrograde from July 18th through August 11th. Now, this retrograde this time around, okay, is not going to feel as harsh as the last retrograde in Pisces. However, we are in heavy retrograde energy, so I'm sure, we all probably will get some energy confused with Mercury. The retrograde that is going to kick us in the butt will actually be Saturn retrograde, which is also happening right now as Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, hooray, hooray. However, Mercury itself is not going to be so harsh. Okay, Mercury is not going to talk to many other planets while in retrograde, so we are fortunate enough to have at least that. Okay, there are two aspects that happen while Mercury directly to Mercury while Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, there's a conjunction with the sun. All right. And then at the beginning of the retrograde, there is sextile energy to Venus. Okay. So it's not, it's not any terrible aspects or things that, not square energy, right? There's no square energy to this retrograde. It's just sextile, which is opportunities that will present themselves. That's not good or bad. It's just opportunities, period. And then a conjunction is working together with the sun. The sun is coming in, and shining a light on Mercury, and we got to figure out what that is. Okay, so there's really only two aspects that we really need to worry about in Mercury retrograde. Hooray! Now, Mercury retrograde is going to bring opportunities, right? Because every retrograde has its purpose, okay? So this retrograde, Mercury being in Leo, is going to bring opportunities to kind of refine your creative activities or the things that you do, the things that you take pride in, how you think about things. This could be how you perceive things, like how your mind can be a bit dramatic, or how your mind can be creative, how you can refine that energy. Okay, it can be around how you've shown up to communication or how your logic is processed, based in ego and pride. Opportunities to kind of reflect, restructure, or repair energy as it relates to how you communicate, and the pride that you communicate in, the ego that you communicate in. Okay, this will bring opportunities for us to reflect on, repair, restructure, energy around us showing up as if we know everything, right? We have all the answers. We just know, because Leo energy, my pride, my ego, I just know. I'm wrong, though. You're wrong. What are you talking about? You're wrong. I'm right. It's opportunities for you to kind of take a step back and change your perspective. Okay, so this is the energy of Mercury retrograde in Leo. Okay, those Leo attributes, which is pride, ego, charisma, creativity, drama. All right, and how your mind is processing based on those attributes, right? That is what's coming back to us in retrograde. So let's jump right into the signs. Again, I'm going to do my whole spiel. This will be most accurate if you look at this based on your rising sign, okay? Because this will encompass where this energy will show up in your life, okay? But if you want to look at this from your sun or your moon sign, your sun sign would be in relation to your perspective, your focus, your attitude, your ego, and your pride, okay? And if you're looking at this from a moon perspective, this will be reflective in like your home, your internal security, your instincts, and your intuition and your emotions. Okay, so that's how you will process it. But your rising sign, right, is most accurate to understand where or what will be popping up. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Aries. Okay, so Aries rising. Mercury is going to be in retrograde in your fifth house. Okay, the fifth house of Leo, that is the house of creativity, that is the house of children, that is the house of self-expression, how you express yourself, right? Whether that's creatively, whether that is on projects, entrepreneurship, this is in your dating life, it's how you express yourself. Okay, so with retrograde happening in your fifth house, okay, there's going to be emphasis around how prior to now you've expressed yourself, right? The creative endeavors you've participated in, right? And how your charisma or how your ego or pride or arrogance, right? Or your courage, how that has either helped you progress in energy because you're aligned, or you're going to get energy coming back to help you kind of readjust, refine, restructure, recalibrate yourself so that you can kind of adjust yourself into alignment. Okay, so again, this is happening in your fifth house. So, you know, for some people, this could be dating, things coming back around. The fifth house is short-term dating, right? This is entrepreneurship, is flirtation, children, self-expression. This is your entertainment, your fun and games. This is also, the fifth house is also the house of drama as well. So again, you're going to see themes around that, okay? So on July 18th, Mercury will be sextile to Venus in the third house, okay? So there will be activity. Mercury will be talking to Venus in your third house, and Venus in your third house in Gemini, okay? Venus is the ruler of love, beauty, art, abundance, peace, and harmony, okay? This is also like relationships, partnerships, you know, sex, right? So Venus in the third house, how you think about, right, these aspects of your life, your mind as it relates to your partnerships or your relationships, and the curiosity, the flexibility of that, right? Mercury is going to be talking to Venus. So this is a conversation. Venus, you know, your mind as it relates to, you know, creating, because Venus rules creativity as well. So your mind and how it relates to like creativity, relationships, connections, harmony, peace, right? Your perspective, your focus, how you communicate, right? The language that you choose to use, right? There's an emphasis here where Venus talks to Mercury in retrograde, and Mercury's like, okay, boom, this is in the realm of dating and relationships, right? So there's heavy emphasis for Aries for dating and relationships here, right? Because you have Venus dating and relationships to that fifth house, dating and relationships, talking, right? So there's an emphasis, it's kind of like flipped because Mercury actually rules Gemini, and Gemini rules the third house where Venus is sitting for you, Aries rising. Okay, so there's heavy emphasis around how your mind works as it relates to how you self-express, what it is you choose to create, why it is you choose to create it, how it is you choose to go about that, the logistics, your perspective, your communication, right? All of these things are going to come back in, and there are going to be opportunities that pop up, especially as Mercury is in retrograde. And this is the beginning of retrograde. So Mercury is just barely starting to backtrack, right? So Mercury goes into retrograde on the 18th. And this aspect happens on the 18th as well. So this really could be anything, to be honest. However, it's something that you are required, right, in order to get yourself in alignment. And I think you will understand what that will mean when the time comes, right? Whether you are aligned or whether you are not aligned. For example, if, you know, in a particular circumstance or situation, you perceive something to be this way, and it's just like, I know for a fact that it's this, right? Because you're in your pride and in your ego, I know it looks like this, I know it is this, and you know, this is how I'm going to react to that, right? And maybe that reaction to the energy was not the best reaction, Okay, Mercury pulls that energy back in with Venus in the third house. So this is like can be harmony within the mind. There's information that comes back towards you. There's conversations, communication that comes back towards you to help you understand how within pride or ego you could have reacted in a different way, or how in pride and ego, how your pride and ego caused you to react and maybe cause a little bit of drama while you were at it, right? And again, I don't get that this is going to be super heavy because we got the heavy hitters like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all of them. Yeah, Uranus is not in retrograde, but Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto are, right? And they're all talking to each other. So Mercury is just kind of over here off on the side, like, hey, Venus, what's up, girl? We got anything we need to, uncover, unveil, so that we can make sure our person is in alignment? What you got? That is what that sextile energy is going to be on the 18th, okay? Not too much, not too much. And then on July 31st, okay, there is going to be a conjunction between Mercury and the Sun, right? So Mercury and the Sun are going to be passing one another. Mercury is in retrograde. So Mercury moves a bit faster than the Sun. So the Sun is approaching Mercury, and now Mercury is going backwards. So they're going to talk to each other, right? Because this means that Mercury had already passed the Sun once before, and now they're passing each other again, and they're having another conversation while Mercury is in retrograde. So Mercury would have passed the Sun on May 30th, okay? So this is the first time Mercury passed by the Sun. So on May 30th or around May 30th, there would have been something there that happened for you, and Mercury passes the Sun. Now July 31st comes back around, right? And the Mercury and the Sun are talking again. Now Mercury and the Sun the first time talked in Gemini, where Mercury and Venus were just having a conversation. Okay, so now Venus is in Gemini. Venus is reporting back to Mercury like, hey, here's how things have developed, okay? And now Mercury and the Sun are going to pass by each other again. They're going to have a reconnection after May 30th, okay? So now Mercury and the Sun, Mercury being in retrograde, Mercury backs on up and is like, hold on, my man, Sun, like, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's tea. Right? And the Sun is going to turn that flashlight on, and Mercury is going to be like, okay, so this is also something that we have to work on. Cool. And it will be something that was related back to what happened at the end of May. Okay, so this conjunction with the Sun for a second time this year, right? This is going to happen on July 31st, and this is in 9 degrees of Leo. So now Mercury, right, is backtracking back towards the Sun, and the Sun is meeting Mercury. They're coming together again, right, after already crossing paths on May 30th. Okay, and this happened in Gemini, your third house, where Venus now sits, and Venus already had a conversation with Mercury, days prior on the 18th, like, hey, this is what's happening in the realm of mind, right? This is what's going on in the mind. All right, this is how we can make peace. This is, how, we can develop things, right? And Mercury's like, okay, cool. And you'll see things around that on the 18th. Then on the 31st, the Sun, it's backtracking. Mercury is backtracking towards the Sun again. And now the Sun, after having traveled, from Gemini to Cancer to Leo, now has more information that it wants to exchange with Mercury, right? So now on the 31st, that conjunction happens again, and there will be another conjunction after that, right? Because Mercury moves faster than the Sun does. So once Mercury is finished with retrograde, Mercury is going to go back chasing after the Sun so that they can have another conversation later on in the year. But right now, this is the second conversation that they're having this year, and the Sun does not go into retrograde, okay? So the Sun is like, look, I've been through, the third house of mind, and, some things are happening over there. I've been through the 4th house of security, internal security, and there's some things happening there as well. And then now Mercury is going into the 5th house of self-expression, right? So mind, internal security, and then self-expression. It goes to the 5th house of self-expression and meets up with Mercury and is like, all right, here are my findings. Right? This is what we need to work on in this retrograde. We already talked once before. Now let's have a conversation again about how things are developing. And Mercury is going to bubble that up, right? There's something there that is going to happen. The Sun and Mercury are going to be working together to kind of point at some specific energy that is going to pop up on July 31st. Okay, so those are really the only 2 things that we really even need to worry about, Aries. So with that, that's all that I have for you, Aries. I hope this reaches you well.